So the warm-up should be as long as it takes you to get to where your mobility is in the right spot, like your joints feel good, you feel fresh, you feel activated, and you really feel peak power. Anything before that is a warm-up set. In the sport of Olympic weightlifting, a lot of times the coaches will measure barbell velocity. Travis Mash has done a fantastic job with this. He's got a lot of data on what's called velocity-based training. Brian Mann at Missouri and Miami, tons of work here. And generally those communities are not going to count any repetition as a working set until you exceed 70% of your 1 rep max. Where that's changed because of a lot of people doing the velocity-based stuff is now they're basing that simply on an achieved velocity. And so really the warm-up is irrelevant. They don't even, it's sort of just like do whatever you want and we're gonna measure the barbell until you actually hit an outcome. And now you're at a working set. So different ways to think about it, depending on what you're training for, that'll give you a little bit of a guideline. If you're training for anything past hypertrophy, then really, and especially even hypertrophy, it just comes down to, are you feeling ready to work? Are you cold? Are you moving through the correct positions? And if all those things are fine, I don't care if you start a little bit early and save some gas at the end of it, especially if you're a person like you who may be a bit more inclined to fatigue quickly relative to Trevor, who's just has no response to fatigue whatsoever.
Is it useful to do more warm up at the beginning of a workout, say before the first exercise, and then once one has achieved both local and systemic warm up, in air quotes, then perhaps on the second or third exercise, fourth exercise, etc., 1 or maybe even 0 warm-ups?
Yeah, fair point. We generally think about warm-ups in a couple of ways. This is a very clever question. You want to have some sort of general global warm-up scheme. We tend to prefer dynamic warm-ups. So this is whole body movements rather than like sitting and stretching, static stretching, things like that.
So something that involves momentum.
Yeah, momentum or movement, right? So this is like, think about this in like old gym class. It's like your high knees and your butt kickers and just different things like that, where you're moving in different planes. You're moving joints through tons of range of motion. You're getting a lot of movement there. So you're getting the local warm up. You're also getting the total systemic activation. Everything else is going on there. So that is what we consider to be a general warm up. 5 minutes is a very sufficient number. Perhaps 10 if you're a slow goer, achy, and some things like that. And you really got to get the ankle warmed up if you're doing lower body stuff. Really make sure that that's moving correctly. The hips and knees will follow. Upper body stuff, really get the shoulder blades and the neck, like making sure you're going there, and the elbows will follow after that. So 5 to 7 minutes of a general warm up. A lot of the times, like classic exercise science, it will even just put you on a bike, cycling for 5 minutes. I don't like that personally. Dynamic movement is more preferred. If you really just move for 5 to 7 minutes, you'll be fine there. Now, specificity within each movement. It's very important that your first exercise of the day is generally the thing you prioritize. That's oftentimes the most important you're going to do. It oftentimes is also the most complex and the most moving parts. So it tends to be multi-joint. Therefore, you need to have movement, precision, and skill dialed, right? You don't typically start your workouts off with the forearm curl, right? Like you don't need a tremendous amount of warm-up to get going on that. You're gonna start off with medicine ball throws or a snatch or some agility work. You need to have the whole system going because multiple joints are moving, position matters, technique, there's just a lot of skill requirement, etc. So the individualized workout or the specific workout for the specific movement, for that very first one, my general rule of thumb is like whatever it takes to move perfect in that first exercise. Past that, you don't necessarily need to do individualized warm-ups for your next movements unless it is a movement you're trying to learn or just even get a little bit better at. Like drop the load a little bit, work on some accruing some practice reps. Fantastic. Or it's another dissimilar complex movement. So let's say your first exercise was a front squat and you got loaded for that, and now you're going to move into a pull-up, but your mechanics aren't the best there, and so you really need to change and do some maybe more specific activation warm-ups for that, or something else, or it's running or something totally different. So yeah, you don't need to re-warm up for every single exercise as you go. Generally, once you're good to go, the same muscles that you're going to use in the next exercise are warm, same joints, then you're good to go.